Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our watch club for Andor. But I'll tell you this, if I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start. Fight the Empire! Welcome to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and this is our Watch Club for Disney and Lucasfilm's Andor episodes 10 to 12, the finale. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our review series, kind of like a book club, but way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and Star Wars in general. So if you haven't watched these 3 episodes yet, and I mean, come on, we're a bit late with this one, so you really should have watched them. Go watch them, and then come right back in less than 12 parsecs. Now, before we start slapping people with bricks made out of Marva, let me introduce you to the other rebels joining me today. He's the droid-dropping, helmet-popping, empire-stopping rebel spy who's always down to climb and get high. He's Darcy, the dank Ferric Hudson.
Oh, I love the climb reference, too. So fitting.
We gotta have one, dude. Like, they said it how many times in this?
Oh, like 4 times, I think.
It's crazy. And you just heard his voice. Joining us after the birth of his first Padawan, he's a rebel dad who's pretty rad, and he's always got a bad feeling about this. He's Justin the Lobot Lawrence.
Viva la revolution! That's what I have to say, my friend.
You're training that rebel, that new little rebel in your household. You're training her pretty good so far, right? You're training her up?
Absolutely, bro.
She's ready to fight?
Yeah, man, she's going to be a fighter.
Yeah.
She is the spark that will ignite what we know to be the
There
future.
you go.
And her middle name is Rey, so whatever that means.
There you go. First podcast reveal of the middle name. Wow. And listen, as a special guest joining us finally, in our fight against the Empire, she's mutinous, mysterious, and altogether seriously lovely. She's Mon Calamari Megan.
Hey, I'm back.
She's back. I mean, I was like, where did you... I thought you got lost in space. I don't know what... I thought maybe you got sent to a prison to build some parts of something. Like, what's going on?
No, none of that.
Okay.
But I have been fighting the good, also baby fight. Not mine. It's not mine. Not
there
my
you
own.
go.
Thank you for... Thanks. Let's make that clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a niece. She's great.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. But I'm sure she's just as much to handle as the Empire, if not more.
In different ways, yes.
In different ways, yeah. Well, listen, friends, before we dive into this Watch Club episode, I want to take a moment to ask kind of a silly question, as we like to do. You know, on Ferrix, the tradition, once you pass on, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is to turn you into a brick that's ceremoniously adding, they add it to one of their buildings. So I want to know, Darcy, if you were on this show, what would you want to be made into? What would you want to be made into?
I don't know. I've never really thought about that. I mean, I think it's always cool when, trees are planted with the casket so a tree grows out of the body and stuff like that. I'd like to take it and make it more, I guess, personal and maybe say, a couple of plants of the green variety, weed growing out of me.
Okay.
Let people smoke my essence and get high with me in the afterlife. I think that'd be pretty good.
That's beautiful.
No,
that's actually that's really beautiful. That's lovely. Yeah, you're kind of, and I can see it. You're helping people at the same time. I mean, it's got to be a stressful time.
That's a movie, guys.
In the galaxy.
It's got to be a movie. Yeah.
Let's do it. I think let's get Kevin Smith to do his first Star Wars movie, and that will be one of the plot points. I think for it. I think that's a good idea. Megan, how about yourself? What would you be made into on Ferrix once you've passed on?
Well, I had the same idea as Darcy, maybe not of that green variety. But I noticed Ferrix is a little lacking on the plants, so I thought it'd be nice to be planted.
Planted. Very much what would happen when you die is you're planted in the ground. So it's like...
Yes.
I mean, you could be like a rebel who was planted in, a secret environment in the Empire, and then after you pass on, you're planted into the earth. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I was going the same route as Darcy. I figured, Might as well be some sort of useful tool. So they smoked my essence as a weed and get high.
The brick was a little useful.
The brick is a great idea, but it does really cement that you're dead. You know what I mean? When you're
dad jokes.
He's a dad for how long? It's only been like a couple episodes, and he's already bringing out the dad jokes.
Right,
Get ready for that, listeners. For me, I think I would want to be made into an instrument. You know, we see the funeral involving some jazz music, which I was looking up.
Musical instrument, right? Okay,
yeah. Oh yeah, a musical instrument. But I was looking up.
Where was your head?
Yeah, what kind of instruments are you talking about, dude?
From dad joke to really bad pervy joke.
Oh my gosh.
All sorts of comedy.
All right, as I was saying, going back to the funeral that we're talking about, Justin, I think I would want to be made into an instrument. I learned recently, though, and I mean, this kind of goes along with what Justin's saying, apparently jazz music in the Star Wars universe is called jizz. That's what jazz is called in Star Wars.
There you go. Then you understand. I knew where you were going. That's why I was asking, what kind of instrument are you going to be?
I would want to be an instrument for making funeral jizz. No, I would want to be. We're already going off the rails. I would want to be a instrument, and I could bring happiness and joy to people, you know, to the rest of the galaxy after I'm done. Put me into the lips of Figrin Dan from the Cantina Band, and I'll be happy. I think it's a beautiful thing.
This is so out of left field.
We're like 6 minutes in, guys.
Well, listen, if you've made it this far, listeners, you are in for a treat. Why don't we just get to this episode before we discover that one of us can't swim? All right, so like last week, I did want to mention we are going to be kind of using some descriptions, some modified descriptions that I've brought over from Lindsay. Special thanks to Lindsay at nerdsandbeyond.com. Give her the click. Definitely check out. She does some amazing recaps of all things Star Wars. So definitely check out Lindsay on nerdsandbeyond.com. Let's start off with episode 10, One Way Out, directed by Toby Haynes. Following Ulaf's death, Cassian argues with Kino that the following day will be their best chance to escape because the guards will be sending down a replacement for their unit. While Kino is hesitant, Cassian remains fiercely determined. When they return to their pods that evening, Kino looks haunted as Cassian tells the rest of the men the dark and disturbing secret they learned from the doctor. None of them are getting out of there alive. The next morning, Kino wakes up with a renewed sense of vigor, I don't know why I had an accent, and tells the men that they're done counting shifts. This is it. During a refresher break, Cassian finally manages to bust the water pipe that he's been steadily sewing away at. When the guards start to bring the new prisoner down to the men, we see that the two men they pretend to fight, and Cassian runs over to break the lift. The room erupts into chaos, and the men begin throwing parts from the tables at the guards. The guards try to activate the floor, but because it's flooded from the water pipe, the system is quickly fried. The prisoners take out the guards, climb out from the work floor, and steal weapons so they can begin to make their way through the building to gather the other units to fight. Meanwhile, the flooding from the water break begins to leak onto the level below. Kino and Cassian arrive at the command center, which is where all the announcements throughout the facility come from, and they commandeer the station. The prisoners take out the guards, and then some of them are killed in the process. Before we continue, I just want to recognize the brutality of this moment. We're seeing characters that had actual speaking roles, you know, part of Cassian's crew, getting shot left and right without any moment to even think about losing them. I thought this was so well done. It was so sad, but it was so well done to show how merciless the Empire is, that they don't even, none of them matter to them whatsoever. And I don't know, I thought this was one of the darkest moments in Star Wars that I've seen recently.
Yeah, it feels like it's very much the state of the galaxy, which is what this entire series is kind of capturing, is that sort of live or die mentality and the Empire ruling. And it's clear that just as much as these prisoners are struggling to live and fight for their freedom, so too are these members of the Empire who are terrified.
Yeah, I think one of the moments that actually sort of dug into my gut was when the floor did go hot while there was water on it, and that one guy got electrocuted and his feet, they just showed his feet. I was like, that's worse than showing his whole body convulse.
Yeah.
Seeing the way his feet were like bent and his toes were bent the wrong way and he was just standing there, I was like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really cool too because it shows how like unprepared the Empire is for people to fight back. Like
Yes.
these guards are so like out of like overwhelmed so quickly with just this one room rioting, and it goes to show that they don't expect people to fight back against this fear and oppression, but when it does happen, they really kind of lose their minds. And it's awesome.
It shows how proud they are that they just sort of look past any possible, like nobody for a second. I think that's why they don't have handrails as well on any of their stations. Like I think that's one of the reasons. They're just like, no one's gonna fight in this room. We're all gonna be perfectly organized. No one's gonna ever challenge us, so we don't need to put handrails there for any reason whatsoever. I think it's kind of the same idea.
It even shows in that moment where Kino is doing his whole speech and they show all those guards in the room and the one guy's like, quiet, and they're like huddling and like sweating and hiding from all these prisoners that they have been aggressive towards this whole time, and now all of a sudden they're freaking out. It's definitely shows the state of the Empire's like power but unawareness, I guess.
And I love that Cassian says to one of them, like, on program. Like, you get on program this time. Like, that was, when that happened, I was like, oh, yeah, tell him, Cassian. F that guy. Which I don't know how many F-bombs we're allowed to drop. I know we're going to drop at least one a little bit later on in this episode. But listen, the survivors climb. That's my impression of K2SO.
They
climb out from the work floor and steal weapons so they can begin to make their way through the building to gather the units to fight. Kino and Cassian, they commandeer the command station where Kino, as you were saying, Megan, makes a rousing speech over the loudspeaker, encouraging all the other prisoners to escape as they chant, "One way out." The remaining guards are outnumbered, so they simply hide while all the men make their way to the exit platform and dive into the water below. But sadly, Kino stays behind, shouting to Cassian that he can't swim, as we see Cassian is pushed by the other prisoners into the water as they all start swimming away from the facility. So, I think, my question here, do you think, in a poetic sense, Kino knew the entire time when they were trying to escape that he would never be able to escape because they were surrounded by water? Do you think he knew that the whole time, or do you think he didn't know?
No, I think he just got caught up with everything, like the clamor that was happening around him and this urge to fight back. He kind of got picked up and carried along. Maybe not really thinking about how he's going to get off there, because they all came there on a shuttle, but that left immediately. So I mean, yeah, it was such a like a bittersweet moment where they're moments away from freedom, and then he's stopped by such a trivial little thing, it's ridiculous.
I think we'll see him again, though.
Oh, for sure. We didn't see
Yeah?
him die on screen, and that's kind of the rule in Star Wars. If you don't see them die, then they're gonna come back, hopefully, and I feel like it'd be a waste of such talent, because that character is so incredible.
He was great. He was so
And
good.
I'd love to see more of him.
Yeah.
He was
But also-
he was so phenomenal.
Do you think because it's Andy Serkis, he's like, I'm good with one little stint and then...
It could be.
Could be.
Or does he eventually get turned into who he's supposed to be?
No.
Snoke. Right? Maybe
He's not gonna
they
be Snoke.
pull him
I
back.
just-
I'm thinking, okay, I've got a whole theory. I'm going to go for the next, what do we have, an hour? I'm going to go for the next hour. No,
Oh
I'm
my
just
God.
kidding.
I think he's gone on the record to say that the two don't associate.
Correct.
The fact that fans want to theorize about that's fine, but yeah, I think it's. You're right, Meg. He might just look at this as like a one-off stint. He's done his part and that's it. But I think like they could get him at least for an episode to cameo, because it was such a surprise and delight to have him in this show, and he really did, captivate. Like I think he was one of the best parts of this series.
Which I think, like, honestly, him knowing is incredibly sad. I think it's incredibly selfless of him to push for all that, and then to just kind of know that, he was so, there wasn't that many days left on his sentence, and and then to find out that he wouldn't get out anyways, and then to find out that he's not getting out again. Like, it's just, there was so much going through my mind of like, this is so sad for this guy. But I think it would have been even more upsetting if he never knew that they were surrounded by water. Because, I mean, he could have been brought in blindfolded, for all we know, and maybe that never came up in conversation. I don't know. I think the impact that it would have on him would, to feel that freedom and then have it so unceremoniously taken away would be so devastating. And I'm just, that to me fits with the theme of how the Empire is treating these people. So I don't know. I in my head canon, I don't think he did know that they were surrounded by water. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, because they're not all necessarily brought in the same way. Like we saw Cassian enter, but
I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but going through that hall between shifts, you see all those water gates open and flooding. I mean,
do you?
I'd be questioning where that water's coming from. It's a massive cooling operation. They even say it takes a lot of water to keep this place cool. So.
Okay. Yeah, maybe he thinks that they're in Niagara Falls. I don't know. Let's get to Davos Skulden, my friends. As promised, through much to Mon's displeasure, Tay sets up a meeting with Davos Skulden, which immediately starts off with a tense mood. Mon tells Davo that they're looking to explore alternative financing arrangements for their foundation. Davo doesn't charge a fee for his services, but rather he'd like to introduce his son to Mon's daughter. She immediately refuses and asks him to leave. So why do you think Mon Mothma is so upset by Davos' offer?
Well, I think we've already seen she wasn't really thrilled with the fact that her culture is all for the prearranged marriage and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
She doesn't have the best relationship with her husband, and, I don't think she wants her. She might not have the best relationship with her daughter, but she probably still cares enough to not want to have to force her into such a situation, especially with the family that she's being, proposed to type thing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird topic for sure.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with the mentality around not being able to choose your own destiny or your own path. And I think very much what Mon Mothma's doing is fighting for people to choose their destiny. I think that just it's an obvious sort of counter to her belief, and something I don't think she appreciates from her culture. It makes sense, and I think what she's very much trying to do is create a better future for her daughter. And that's the most apparent, which is why I feel like she doesn't want to tie her down to proposed marriage. But that's not stopping her daughter from wanting it, because she obviously has a sense of pride for the traditions of her culture, which she respects, and which is why she is very willing to commit to a proposed marriage.
Right, and I think that's what terrifies her the most, is that her daughter is just going to fall into a life that she herself feels trapped by, right? Like that traditional, arranged marriage. And I think seeing her daughter go through the same thing would be horrifying for her. But at the same time, like you're saying, Justin, like her daughter's totally into that stuff. And I think that's what's also upsetting her the most, is that she's considering the fact that because her daughter is so into it, that like, hey, this might actually work. And I think that sickens her to her core, that she thinks, oh, this is actually going to be a way out, which sucks. Like, and the performance from Genevieve O'Reilly here, oh my gosh, like absolutely incredible.
She's amazing.
Incredible. Yeah, I had a note here. It said, "Holy moly." Speaking of moles, let's get to this next section here. At the Imperial Security Bureau, they confirmed that Krieger's men took the bait after they killed the pilot. Lonnie suggests that they should show an interest in the shipwreckage, because that's what would be expected from them, and Partagaz agrees. Later, as Lonnie sneaks off, we realize that he's the moly mole at the ISB, and he's the person that left a message for Luthen and Clea about wanting to meet. He steps into an elevator and puts in an earpiece, through which Luthen begins to speak to him. Lonnie tells him about a new supervisor that's rising, Dedra Miro, and he warns him that she's been looking into Aldhani. Luthen plays it cool and acts like he had nothing to do with what happened there. Lonnie goes on to tell him about the rebel pilot, noting that the ISB is now aware of the planned raid on Spellhouse. However, Luthen ultimately isn't concerned about changing any plans, because he'd rather sacrifice the men that potentially raise suspicion that Lonnie tipped them off in the first place. When Lonnie gets to the top of the elevator, Luthen is waiting for him, and he tells him that although he's been working his way up through the ISB for 6 years now, he realized he can't do this anymore now that he's a father. And as Lonnie tries to question what exactly Luthen has given up in this fight, Luthen makes it clear just how much of his life he's dedicated to the cause. He's not going to let Lonnie leave the rebellion because they need all the help they can get in order to win the fight against the Empire. What an incredible speech by Luthen here. Who knew we would get so many soliloquies in this series?
Yeah.
The speeches are
The monologues.
crazy.
Yeah. The drops of rich dialogue that just makes you think. And yeah, this was one of my favorite moments from this series, I think. And I think it sheds such a ominous light around Luthen's character and
Around the rebellion in general, I think.
Yeah.
for sure.
Right? Like, dude, I wrote this down. Like, and what do you sacrifice? Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given
That's
up
Jedi,
all
bro.
chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless place. I share my dreams with ghosts. Like, are you writing like a emo band song? Like, what is going on right now? Like, it sounds so good.
That all sounds like a Jedi, man. Like, is he a Jedi? Like, I don't know. Like, this is the scene where I was like wondering, based on just, you know, things that were said, even though his attire, the way he was dressed, you know what I mean? It was very Jedi-like with the.
I mean,
he has that.
I think more Sith Lord, that reveal with the elevator opening, and he's just standing on that walkway. It's just like,
It's
ooh, that's
dark.
a bad guy if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, exactly. And like, but maybe that's the idea of trying to paint him as this gray. You know what I mean? Like he's cut himself off because he's maybe lost something from the Empire, and that's why he's so committed to this cause. Like, that would be a killer reveal, right? If you know.
I feel like the Jedi care too much about life in general. Now, like you're saying, Justin, if he's like a defected Jedi, maybe that could work.
We love a gray Jedi.
Right? Yeah. We definitely love a gray Jedi, as Ahsoka stands. But I don't know. I feel like that. I don't know if that would work. I think his character needs to represent the darkness that is in the rebellion. I think that's the whole point of Luthen Rael, is that he's not. He is like exactly what the rebellion sort of starts as, and then also becomes in maybe not the best way. And that's obviously we're not at the Mon Mothma leading the charge yet. I think we'll get there. But yeah, man, freaking Stellar Skarsgård. I know I called him Stellar Skarsgård.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Because he is stellar, dude. He's Stellar Skarsgård in my mind. Absolutely. All right, let's get to episode 11, titled Daughter of Ferrix, directed by Benjamin Caron. After escaping the Imperial facility, really quickly, did anyone else notice visually what that Imperial facility looks like from the top? Did anyone see how it looks?
Kind of looked like the Imperial logo, no?
did,
yeah.
Or is that just me putting that on there?
No,
that's what I was... Yeah, Justin's like, obviously.
But like the hexagonal shapes that we'll see later, right?
Oh,
like,
true. Okay. Yeah.
Kind of hinted at
kind of...
like at the dish. So I don't know.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right.
Okay. I like it. The dish filled with fish. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. After escaping from the dish filled with fish, Cassian and Melshi unfortunately still need to get off of Narkina 5. Still shoeless and donning their prison outfits, they find a small encampment with an old ship parked off to the side. But when they make a run for it, the two creatures there easily catch them in a net. However, when they realize that they have shared hatred for the Empire, the aliens are angry that the prison has spoiled the Waters planet. They surprisingly set Cassian and Melshi free and give them a ride to Niamos. Upon his return to the beach world, Cassian sneaks back into the place where he was staying before, and he sees some two aliens all snuggled up on the bed, and they were like, oh yeah, they did it the night before. And then he goes into the bathroom, where apparently the maids at the Niamos hotel that he stayed at are not tall enough for whatever reason. I think Darcy and I may have been joking that they were the same ladies that work on in episode 8.
Caretakers.
Yeah, the caretakers, the little
Doctor.
fish ladies. Maybe they're the ones that are they're just caretakers all over the planet, so they're not tall enough. Anyways, he sneaks into the bathroom and he finds his hidden credits, his blasters, and of course, Nemik's manifesto. Okay, so let's talk of them. We got to talk about these two boys. Finally, we get more space aliens with Dewey Pamular, and he's got like the biggest I don't know what those were, a ball sack or elongated breasts or something hanging off of him. His brother Freedy. Darcy, the first time you and I watched this, we could not understand a damn word they were saying. But
that's me.
Yeah. So watching it with subtitles, it's fantastic. The way Dewey talks, you hear him ending his sentence. He's like, hey, like he's like, no biggie dinner tonight. Hey, it's like, what are you talking about? Anyways, I love him. I love how he calls Cassian and Melshi squigglies. I don't know. I like these two. I was really happy to see aliens in this show that could talk.
My biggest thing is, did anyone else get to the shore? I mean, we saw so many people swimming away, and we just followed two of them. I'm very confused by that. But again, these two aliens, it's a breath of fresh air. Again, Kevin has said for sure that not enough aliens in this Star Wars, and here we have two very prominent talking role aliens, and it was just as out there as you can expect, and with that weird spider webby net. It was kind of gross to watch them stuck underneath that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I think to have alien characters, they did incorporate that, but we see some alien creatures in the background on Coruscant and other places, but definitely not having predominant talking roles. But I appreciated that. Like, again, it is focusing on the people of the galaxy while understanding that there are other species in and around the story that they're telling.
But I think it would be cool to see maybe even in the next season, like a Twi'lek, who we know
could be
that
budget
the Twi'leks,
too. It could be budget. Yeah.
But they can get away with it from a makeup standpoint. It's not that hard to make a Twi'lek. I see them all the time at conventions. I think that would be cool, because I think the Twi'lek specifically, as we know from the animated series, they're very much known for their part in this overall sort of fight against the Empire. So I think it would be really cool to kind of see that happen.
I mean, we haven't even seen how the Mon Cala joined the fight, so I'm hoping that we get some of that in season 2, and that'll be a very big alien presence.
Mon Cala marrying Megan. Do you think we're going to get Megan in the show? Maybe that would be pretty great.
I'd love it.
Yeah,
cast me.
I also really quickly, Dewey, who's his friend, not the one with the big boobies, but Dewey says "Scob the Empire," which, we now have the word shit confirmed as canon in Star Wars. For the first time, this series gave us that. We had Dank Farrik, and now we have a new swear word added to the Star Wars canon of scob. Scob you, scob all of you, okay? Scob all of you. Anyways, let's keep going here. Back on Ferrix, Marva. Listen, we're going to bring the mood down. Marva has sadly passed away. The town, and especially B2 Emo, all mourn her as they prepare for her funeral. The Imperial officers stationed there contact Daedra, who encourages them to allow the people to have a permit to close Rick's Road for the funeral. She believes they can use this to their advantage. And I want to stop right there. B2, my heart. B2 was so sad, and the way he doesn't understand, like a little kid, and the way they have him taking the body away, this was Wall-E level of performances from a droid. I would never thought in a million years that we would get a performance like this from a droid in Star Wars, and he doesn't even he doesn't have a face. He doesn't have a face, and yet I was still I was tearing up watching this little guy.
I completely agree with you. I think he was written as a character that would have been a kid, and then they just put it in a robot. And because he had such a human presence in the entire series, and here is where he really gets to shine, as you said, on that Wall-E level of really giving you emotion.
And huge shout out to Dave Chapman, who voices B2 Emo, because it's not easy, I'm sure, to number one, voice a droid, but to voice a droid, still sound like a droid, and add that much emotion to what you're saying. You can feel the difference between him and what's that little one in episode 9 that's on a...
Yeah.
Dio.
He goes
Dio.
Happy or sad.
Yeah, Dio.
It's... that's just like a voice, and you get it, but it's
that's
not
J.J.
that
Abrams'
emotional.
voice, so,
That's J.J. Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
he's not a voice actor. That's fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Dave Chapman does a really incredible job, because I could have cried every single moment.
And I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the emotion that he's able to bring to the voice, which I appreciate, versus the a multitude of other droids that are featured as sort of a little cutesy robot that doesn't have very much dialogue. He was integral. He was super integral, and they proved that throughout the series.
Now, do you think, can I ask you this question? Because I tried rewatching this scene, and I had so many tears in my eyes that I couldn't quite tell. Is at the beginning, the very opening, where it kind of like shows like almost like a watery look, is he crying? Like, is that water in his lens that's like draining out or something? Because that's what it made it kind of look like. I don't know.
I think that was
I got to
a
rewatch
lighting-
it.
I think that was a lighting.
It was a lighting thing.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, I think it was like he hadn't popped his eye out because he was so sad for so long that it was like a flare, that there's too much bright light.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing, which
Okay.
added to like the faded voices in the background as well while they were
Yeah.
talking about Marvat.
Oh. All right, let's move on here. Elsewhere, the Empire continues to hold Bix hostage, showing her an image of Anto Krieger, and they ask if he's the man she introduced to Cassian Andor. Vel arrives at Luthen's shop and demands that Clea tell her where Luthen is because she has information for him. Clea says she'll pass the message on about Marva's death. Okay, pausing here for a moment because there's quite a bit of beef between Clea and Vel, almost as if they're like in competition with each other. Why do you think they're so hostile to each other?
Clea seems like she's buttoned up. She likes things organized and controlled and under a pin that she can control. And I think there's too many variables that have happened throughout this season that have kind of unhinged everything. And I think Val is very much, she sees her as being the reason why that's happened, plus Cassian and these people that Luthen's working with, right? Because she's very angry at Luthen too, as we've seen, right? She's kind of frustrated and annoyed with his tactic. He's losing it, as she said to him, right?
Well, I think it's because like Vel seems to be very much emotional. She's letting a lot of her emotions, kind of drive her actions in the series, and that clearly doesn't fly by Clea's rules. Because even Luthen, to some extent, is starting to follow his own kind of will, just because he's like, this needs to happen, and maybe it's because they're getting too emotional. Like, no, emotions have no part in what we're trying to do in starting this rebellion. So I feel like that's definitely the basis of that beef.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes to show like how different their approach is. Between each other, like you're saying, like we hear Vel say, I gave him Aldhani. Like I gave it to him. I gave him Aldhani like it's a gift that she was able to give to like her dad for Christmas. Like it was kind of a weird thing to hear. And then, I think it follows along more the lines of like the extremist approach. But then Clea comes back and says, you gave him Aldhani. Well, I'm actually the one running things. She says, I don't have lately. I have always. I have a constant blur of plates spinning and knives on the floor with needy, panicked faces at the window, of which you are but one of many. Like, dude, the writing in this show is so freaking good that this is like literally like a minute and a half scene, and we still get that level of beautiful
intention.
writing. I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
It's so great that they've given every character a moment to show their intentions, to prove who they are in this story, and everyone's getting that moment. And it's great because you really, again, start to really connect with them and feel for where they're at.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. Afterward, Vel stops to see her cousin again, and Mon finally tells her exactly what kind of trouble she's gotten herself into. Last year, Mon was pulling 100,000 credits from the family trust without a trace. However, a few months ago, a banker from back home warned her that Imperial inspectors might be taking a closer look at Chandrillan accounts. She ended up with one empty ledger at the end of the line that was off balance. After Aldhani, everything was suddenly frozen, and now Mon is still missing 400,000 credits. Davos Sculdun's offer may be her only choice. So let's talk about Lita and just how eerie it is that she's almost rebelling opposite to what we would, most kids, like where she's practicing the more traditional Chandrillan ways, like the old ways. They keep chanting the old ways. And like the first time I watched this scene, it didn't really click in for me, but then watching it again, it's terrible to realize what's sort of happening with Lita. Like, I think what I find really upsetting is like the old ways seem to be eerily similar to the kind of the misogynistic ideals that we see paralleled, unfortunately, today with rights being taken away. And you hear in their chants, they say things like safe in the knot in the binding, or bound against the wind, tied to the shore, tethered in permanence. Like the idea that because the Empire is like, it's all of a sudden there's a trend now going around to live that sort of life is terrifying. That's like, it's this level of sort of culture building that like I just had no idea to expect from this show. And it's almost as though Alita was thinking, well, if this is what, if the world was more like the old ways, maybe my mother would have never become a senator, and maybe she would have had more time for me. And that's so freaking sad to see this character go through this. And
that's
you know what
interesting.
I mean?
So you think Mon's daughter kind of like holds it against her that she went for a political career because it sacrificed her relationship. That's interesting. Yeah, it goes back to what we were saying. Like, Mon wants her daughter to choose her own destiny. Do you know what I mean? And be the writer of her path that isn't tied to being, sent off in some sort of marriage and tied in some sort of bound that doesn't really mean anything, right? Like you said, for her to watch her daughter go through that's going to be painful for her. So it's really interesting to see, because I think this is very reflective of like common relationships that kids will have with parents and vice versa. It's just captured in a galaxy far away.
But it's also just in such a like an ass backwards way, right? Because normally
100%,
we would be seeing kids being like, I'm going out, Mom. I'm wearing what I want to wear, Mom. But here she's like, I'm buttoning up, Mom. I'm
reading my book, Mom.
I'm reading my Bible, Mom.
To the rules, Mom.
Yeah, like honestly, so weird. And I'm just like, why does she love Vel so much? Because
that was what I was going to say. Yeah, it's a very odd relationship there, because Vel seems so against the old ways, and she still isn't married at this point. Like, there's so much about her character that normally these straight-laced Chandrillans would probably have an issue with, and here she is like almost an idol to her niece, which again, very confusing for me.
That happens though with like distant relatives that you don't see very often, that they show up and they're like super cool, but they're only there for like 5 minutes. So
you don't really
only
get to know
wish
them.
Yeah, you just wish to see that amazing, iconic person, but you don't really know anything about them. I think that's sort of what Val is to her.
Interesting. Like, she's like the rock star aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We all have one.
Little does Lena know.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is that maybe that's also part of how, as you were mentioning, Nate, she's kind of retaliating against her mother. You know,
she's almost in a way trying to make her jealous. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because
Deep.
you're right. Val's trying to make it seem like she is of the way of her people, but she's obviously not.
And I got to shout out the performance from Faye Marseille in this scene as Val, because you see, like, there's been multiple times in this show where the actors will just act with their face and not with dialogue, and it's so impressive to me. There's a moment where you see her face. She's realizing that she's the reason that Mon has let her daughter fall into this arranged marriage. It's because she needs money now because of what happened on Aldhani, and Val's very much like, oh shit, like, I did that. Like, that was me. And so you get that juxtaposition of the scene where just before, where she's like, she's so proud, like, I gave him Aldhani. And then here she's like, oh shit, I caused Aldhani, which is causing my daughter or my niece to go through this. I'm just like, it's just nuts. The amount of culture and society that they're sort of building in this series is just so compelling.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's especially this particular scene. I'm one of the Star Wars fans that's not super into politics, and There's a huge chunk of that in Star Wars. So I found myself in some of these scenes, I'll be honest, sort of zoning out, because I didn't really understand what the conversation was about. They say the same thing over and over again. In this scene, Mon Mothma is saying the same thing over and over again, that she has no credits and all this stuff happened and it's because of her and blah, blah, blah. I was so in tune to Val's reaction throughout the entire scene that I didn't really even listen to Mon Mothma. I was just like, oh my God, look at her just emoting and performing. It was really impressive. Yeah.
She's come a long way from Game of Thrones as the
and Doctor Who.
And Doctor Who. Wow. All right, let's get to this next section here. Cyril's mother wakes him up in the middle of the night, and as Moss calls in to let him know that Marva has died and that Cassian may be at the funeral. They break up like a bad FaceTime call. Luthen pays another visit to Saw Gerrera, who finally has decided that he'll participate in the raid on Spellhouse. However, Luthen tells him that it's too late and that now the ISB is aware of Krieger's plan. Saw realizes the plan to sacrifice Krieger and his men, which causes them to argue, and then Luthen pulls a blaster on him, but Saw eventually relents and agrees that the decision is indeed being made for the, and I'm using quotes here, the greater good. Afterward, once he's back on his ship, Clea reaches out to Luthen and tells him to come home. They discreetly discuss business, but they lose connection when an Imperial patrol ship comes up behind him. This is the scene we all want to talk about with this episode. Luthen provides them with fake identification, but rather than letting him go, the Imperials activate their tractor beam and begin pulling his ship in. Luthen tries to escape, but his hullcraft isn't strong enough to escape the pull from the tractor beam. However, he manages to shoot the beacon and destroy it, narrowly avoiding a TIE fighter pursuit and launching into hyperspace before they can catch him. Let's talk about this moment. How freaking cool was it with the destruction of the tractor beam and freaking like lightsabers coming out of the side of the ship?
I'm gonna say it. He's a Jedi. I'm telling you, he's a Jedi.
He's just because he's got so many kyber crystals. He's just holding on to a million. He's
got the kyber crystal. He's got the kyber crystal. That piloting tactic, the way to evaluate that situation and understand that is a Force user if I've ever seen. Like that was the thing that kind of almost sealed it for me, and especially this lightsaber technique that like. It's interesting that it was red because I didn't think that he was a bad guy. But Darcy, you did say it.
I mean, all rebel gunfire and stuff is red, and the bad guys have green stuff. So it doesn't. It's only lightsabers that fall into the red and green category. True. This, if anything, solidified the fact that if I was in this universe and I needed a ship that would fly under the radar, go to Corellia, because now we have the Falcon and whatever his ship is called, Luthen's ship, and like it's incredible. I also want the ship in Lego, but with this being a more adult tone series, will I get me a Star Wars
you will
ship? Because
maybe
a Lego Star, I'd love to have that. I mean, this ship is incredible. Every time I see it, I want to know more about it, and it's so good.
It's like transforming at times.
So
yeah, totally. Like he must have a collection of kyber crystals to do that. But I think my favorite aspect about this, I mean, the description doesn't really do it justice here. Sorry, Lindsay, but I will say this moment where he's not trying to escape their tractor beam. He's trying to make the tractor beam pull in stronger so that when he releases all that junk or whatever it is that comes out of the
flak cannons or whatever.
Dude, and it just completely just slices through it. I was like, this is on the level for me as a Star Wars fan in terms of ship-on-ship combat as what happened in Episode 8 with the light speed slice thing, like the Haldo maneuver.
Yeah.
Like, this is on that level of ship-on-ship combat moments where I was just like... That's awesome. That is so cool. Or you know what? It's up there with me in Rogue One when they use the hammerheads to smash into the side of the thing. And dude, so freaking good.
The way it like disintegrated too.
Yes. It was
the
like
CGI effects were crazy.
Yeah, and that chase scene and just the whipping around and the way they filmed like almost the choreography of the ships as they moved, and then how those lasers shoot out the side and just like he does a spin. I was like whoa, like I literally had my hands up because it was a cool little moment to experience that proves what this show is 100% trying to prove is you can have compelling elements to a TV series that still feel cinematic in its experience, and it totally did.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is like our only moment in space, no? We're like barely ever in space.
Pretty
in this
much.
Whole show. It's always on some sort of planet. But also his like cool demeanor throughout the entire scene.
Oh, he had that
doesn't
shit
do
under.
any like looking around or he was like, I got
He's
this.
a cucumber.
He's a cucumber.
He's a cucumber.
Absolutely.
Someone should Photoshop that.
And he's like, he just got like a bunch of fans around him. He's cool as a cucumber. Let's get to a somber call on Ferrix. Cassian reaches out to Zan on Ferrix and asks him to get a message to Marva for him. He wants to tell her that he's okay and he's thinking about her, and he'll be back soon. Unfortunately, Zan tells him that she's passed away. Afterward, as they look out at the planet's vast sea, Melshi wonders how many of the other prisoners made it out alive, like Darcy was wondering earlier. What if they're the only ones who survived? He decides that they need to split up to double their chances because they have to spread word and warn the rest of the galaxy about the true horrors of the Empire. And they also have to split up because we need like a triumphant return moment with Melshi in the for future season, obviously. So not much to say here before we move on to the finale, but I did want to just call out the cinematography in the way that they shot this final moment with Cassian looking out the water. I think it's an incredible visual. I guess you would call it a callback to Rogue One, like George Lucas, the thing he's like, it's like poetry or whatever he says. But it's just the fact that like the lowest moments of his life and I guess I guess you would say for Rogue One like the highest moment of his life because he's achieved his goal. It's just insane that like we get to sort of see those parallels. Kudos to whoever had the idea to end on that shot in that moment because it was just beautiful.
Yeah, I really loved that. They did acknowledge kind of like the situation at hand that was happening in that prison and what it really means for the galaxy. You know what I mean? Like the idea that it's kind of sparked something in them to dig deeper and figure out what's going on in these facilities and why is the Empire doing it, which makes sense for where they're going to end up in, by the end of season 2.
Listen, let's get to the finale for this first season of Andor, episode 12, Rick's Road, directed by Benjamin Caron. Dedra, Luthen, Vel, Cinta, and Cyril are all on Ferrix, each of them keeping their eyes peeled for Cassian. While Luthen, Vel, and Cinta all want him dead because he's a liability to the rebels, Cyril seeks out revenge, and Dedra plans to take him in for questioning. Cinta is initially concerned that they will need to get their hands on Cassian before the Imperial Security Bureau takes him in for questioning, but then Luthen assures Vel that it's fine. They can let the ISB do the hunting for them, and then they'll know exactly where to find Cassian in order to kill him once he's in their custody. It's crazy to me how these characters we've been following this entire time all are like out to kill Cassian for the greater good. You know what I mean? Like, do you think in this moment Luthen actually does want to kill Cassian?
I think it's a loose end he's trying to tie up.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. He does want to tie off a loose end, but they all do, right? Like, what's really great is that we have seen Cassian sort of affect all these characters that are in Ferrix for Cassian. Like, it's a really interesting sort of poetic ending finale setup where you have all these different people that Andor matters to, and they're all in this one spot to get him, and they all know the opportunity at hand with Marva's funeral. So I thought it was a really great way to show how in some way or another he has interacted with all those people, and it reminds you of the stories that you've seen throughout the rest of the season and why they're all there. It was just a really great way to tie it all up.
And it's great, I think, that they started on Ferrix and they're ending on Ferrix. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we've gone to Coruscant, we've gone to Aldhani, gone to the Niamos and all these other places, but then to kind of start and end there, I love a good.
We love a bookend.
Good bookend.
yeah, you love a good bookend.
You love
but
a
you gotta
good
remember,
bookend.
You got to remember, this is where it all starts, right?
That's it.
That's what we're getting at.
That's it. This is the spark. That whatever, the lights, the fire. All right, let's keep going here. Taking advantage of the fact that she knows her driver is a spy, Mon Mothma puts a plan into action when Perrin slides into the back of their transport. After asking Cloris for privacy, which she knows is a big lie, she begins to accuse Perrin of gambling again. Though he denies it, she goes on telling him that if he's going to do so, he should go to Canto Bight to do it. He shouldn't be gambling on Coruscant. Which is like, yay, Canto Bight, yay, everyone's favorite part of Star Wars ever, woo! Later, Cloris reports this conversation to Blevin, who surmises that this could indeed explain the family's recent odd banking moves, thus giving Mon the cover that she needs for the missing money. Blevin is then pulled from the room to hear about the successful obstruction of the raid on Spellhouse. Dedra is angry when Partagaz tells her there were no prisoners taken alive. She says, like, well, we can't ask a body any questions. In the last we see of Mon in this chapter, her daughter laid Data is introduced to Davos Skalden's son after all. And I know I'm kind of going a little bit out of order there, but I just want to sort of tie up the Mon Mothma section of the episode. So they've made the decision to go along with this arranged marriage situation. What do you think this means for Mon Mothma and her family going forward? And do you think she loses her family before the end of this series?
Yeah, I think she's kind of doing what
Yeah.
Luthen's doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think what we've been watching is Luthen sort of slowly unravel and dig deeper because there's better opportunities, and he knows that they're close. And I think she's afraid that she's losing control, but she has to go this route. Like, it's the only way if they really are going to make a difference and influence it. So, yeah, like, I think she feels like she's losing a bit of herself, and I think in the end that's going to result in her losing her family. We know where she's going to end up, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds.
Totally.
It's almost like welcome to the rebellion. Get ready to lose every single person that you
Yeah,
love.
to gain what will hopefully be a better future, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Star
I
Wars.
think that's something that like Mon Mothma's willing to do. She hates it, but she thinks as long as I stay on the path I'm on, my daughter will have a better future no matter what. So
Interesting. See, I think it's going to get worse before it gets any better. I think it would be really sad if her daughter died because of the decisions
I don't think
made
she's
for
gonna die.
the greater good.
No.
I'm just saying. I think it could be really sad, but I think the way they're setting it up could be even worse, which is that her daughter and Perrin are very much alive by the time of Rogue One, but they're so estranged that her daughter has just doubled down on her commitment to the old ways, and maybe even at that point to the Empire. I think it would be nuts if they just made them into full-on enemies of Mon Mothma.
Well, I mean, first off, I find myself feeling sorry for Perrin in this because she, like, Mon Mothma is just using it as an out to kind of, give herself a little wiggle room to make these shady deals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to happen is, again, the daughter is the one to be worried about because she's already been around kind of snooping on some of these, kind of private meetings that her mom's been having. And I wouldn't be surprised if she's the one.
She's the one, yeah.
Kind of ratting on her to the Empire, and that's what drives Mon to the Rebel Alliance and like really being the face of that. So again, it's this, you never thought that you'd care so much for this like political family and the struggles it would have, but this series has been so good at telling the story that I'm so engaged.
Yeah, this is where the show really kind of feels very House of Cards. It has a political through point that, again, it's like, who can you trust? Who's the bad guy? Who's gonna rat you out? And I totally get you. I was waiting to get to predictions, but I'm just gonna say it here. I totally think that the Mon Mothma's daughter is going to be the one that's gonna kind of speak a little bit more about stuff that's going to raise some eyebrows from the ISB and kind of draw some attention. So yeah, she is going to be part of, I think, the downfall for Mon Mothma, and that's gonna make her realize she can't trust her daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that sentiment. I love that prediction that, obviously a lot of Bothan's previous episodes when I predicted that died to give us that prediction. So I definitely agree with you guys. Let's keep going here. To nobody's surprise, Cassian does indeed make his fated return to Ferrix late in the night, at which point we see a touching memory of him as a child with Clem, where Clem's got some like rusted parts, and he's like, look, nobody looks at the rusted parts, and you clean them and all this stuff. It's really lovely. Cassian runs into Pegla, which, by the way, did you guys realize that Pegla is Jamie Tartt's dad in this show? Yeah, I know. I was like, what? Crazy. I didn't notice it until the march, which we're going to get to later on. But yeah, I was like, wait, that's Jamie Tartt's dad this entire time. And obviously he's such a different character in this show than he is in
I
Ted
love
Lasso.
Ted Lasso characters.
But just give me all the Ted Lasso characters.
Yes.
Oh, all of them. If we get what's his name? Goldstein? Anyways. So Cassian runs into Pegla, and he's baffled to learn that they're selling the shop, and he asks where Bix is, and later he sits listening to Nemik's manifesto. Let's take another moment here. Nemik's manifesto. Holy crap. Again. Like, the speeches. How can they do this? I don't understand. Can they release Nemik's manifesto in a printed form? Please, Lucasfilm. I want in the future, for when our whole species is gone, for some species to find that script and just be like, wow, these beings that lived here before were amazing. That
Right?
was incredible. Like, I cannot. I just. The other night I read the whole thing to Justin, and he just.
Yeah,
he was in tears.
I was worried that you were going to do it here. Just
No, I won't
for
do
time purposes, I appreciate that you didn't. But I love that it really does set up the foreshadow of what we would see later. It really does, kind of help set up what is going to be the start of all of this, of the rebellion and what that looks like. And it was great to hear those words and to understand what he was speaking of, and then to see that later in what we would see towards the end of the episode. It creates that connective through point or a bookend, maybe to the idea of what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was worth the payoff of waiting, or like worth the wait, basically. Because since we heard about this manifesto, I've kind of been waiting to see what he's going to say. And then this paired with Marva's speech later on are just two incredible moments of this finale, and like stand out. Like you can see how their words shape the rebellion going forward. Like you said, like this is the core and almost the light side of the rebellion that we're used to, and not so much the dark side
For sure.
we're seeing through Luthen and Saw Gerrera. So it's to see so many different layers to the rebellion in such a short time with this series is incredible.
Yeah.
And, like, give me more. I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, because what he's talking about in that manifesto manifests itself in Ferris in that moment. So it's just it's
Manifesto
the way they.
manifested.
Yeah, exactly. I like it's
poetry.
so well written. You know what I mean? It's poetry. It's
Yeah, just get George Lucas on the podcast already, okay? We were saying in the other episodes that like this is George Lucas's favorite show. Undoubtedly, it has to be. It has to be. Like he loves politics. Anyways, let's keep going here. Cassian meets up with Brasso in secret, and though he's upset and full of regret because he was fighting with Marva the last time he saw her, Brasso shares a moving message from Marva with him, and it was I'm going to quickly read this one. He says, "Tell him none of this was his fault. It was already burning. He was just the first spark of the fire. Tell him he knows everything he needs to know and feels everything he needs to feel. And when the day comes that those two pull together, he will be an unstoppable force for good. Tell him I love him more than anything he could ever do wrong." And like that one line.
Oof.
Oh,
I rewound that like 4 times.
Right?
Just the last, tell him I love him more than anything he could ever do wrong. I was like,
Like I want a tattoo
oh
of
my
that.
God.
Beautiful.
you should get that right on your back, your
just-
lower
yeah.
back.
Lower back, 100%, with a picture of Marva.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even Cassian in this scene too, you just see the emotions as he's hearing her like final words to him, and the fact that you got to think he's clearly realizing that none of this would have happened if he didn't go away with Luthen. Like he'd still be next to Marva. She wouldn't be fighting this rebellion because of just one small decision he made, and how much it's affected everyone he knows. You can clearly see the regret in his face during this one scene, and again, so powerful. So.
Yeah, like you said, Nate, the facial acting in this series is top notch, and
Oh my God.
yeah, like Diego Luna did an amazing job in these moments to sort of convey the emotion without saying anything. And yeah, like you got to think, like he started this all looking for his sister, I guess.
Sister.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he killed 2 ISB agents,
Yeah.
and like this is what's manifested. You know what I mean?
It was just security
This-
guards, wasn't it?
Yeah, essentially, like cops. You know,
They were
local
human
cops.
beings, Megan. Jeez.
I
They
know.
were. But they were
To all
were
of the security
essentially
guards listening to this on their night shift, I'm so sorry for Megan's comments. They do not reflect those of the greater Geekcentric podcast and those affiliated. No, sorry. Go on, Justin. You're saying.
to think where it started and where we're at. Do you know
It's
what I mean?
crazy.
And
Yeah.
like Darcy's saying, I think he has regret understanding that he kind of brought this on himself. Do you know what I mean? To a certain degree.
There's so many bookends.
Oh, just bookends. Just so many. I love bookends. Maybe that's what I get turned into, is the end of a book.
A bookend.
Or a bookend, or whatever those are. Those book on a
Yeah,
bookshelf.
you
Is that
definitely wouldn't be the opening. You'd be the ending.
what- All right, let's keep going here. Despite the specific measures that the Empire has put in place for the funeral, which includes a restriction on the amount of attendees, the town has other plans, clearly. As the anvil begins to clang from high above, a marching band plays a poignant tune as they march through the streets, which are filled with an array of onlookers. A crowd follows behind, and Tigo is furious that so many people are in attendance. He demands that the troopers disperse the crowd and set a strict perimeter. Cassian watches this unfold from a discreet hiding spot, and he also notices that Luthen is there. Bix, who has seen far better days, listens to the music from the room that she is imprisoned in. The crowd watches as Brasso carries Marva's stone, and then B2 Emo rolls over and projects a hologram that Marva recorded for Ferrix before she passed. The message is less of a sad goodbye and more of a deeply inspiring sentiment to rally the people of Ferrix to do what they were meant to do, what the whole galaxy must do if they want to escape from the clutches of the Empire for good: rebel. And I'm going to quickly I'm going to read this speech just so we can get hyped one more time. I'm sorry that I'm reading so much. Justin's very upset. I've been turning away from the truth I wanted not to face. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. There's a darkness reaching like rust, again, calling back to the rust moment, rust into everything around us. We let it grow, and now it's here. It's here, and it's not visiting anymore. It wants to stay. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we sleep. It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight, and maybe it's true. Maybe fighting is useless. Perhaps it's too late. But I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start. Fight the Empire. And again, another speech. Like, it's just, this show could just be called Speeches, and I would watch it. But what did you guys think of Marva's speech here at her funeral?
I love that she says bastards. Let's like throw
that
into
too?
the swear words.
Like, bastards. Like, it was,
so good.
She's apparently like she apparently said fuck the Empire.
That was where I was gonna get at earlier.
Yeah, and
you can zoom
Disney
in on her
wouldn't
mouth.
allow it, so
yeah.
They apparently they just made it look like a glitch, and they re-recorded the line, and fight the Empire rather than fuck the Empire. So
yeah, that's badass.
Yeah,
let's go.
I do agree, though.
Petunia.
I think that was smarter not to put it in, because it would have just felt very out of place, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been a great, like, whoa, fuck exists in the world of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's two. Did I say it
Right.
twice? There. I said, okay, so I won't say it again.
I don't know how many more we have allowed.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many F words we got left
Yeah.
to go with. But again, I'm glad they made that change. I think it still hits home the poignancy of her speech, and it is to resist, to fight, to stand up against this tyranny, and just look out for one another, and that's what matters. And the Empire does not want to see that for you. So again, this is the moment that we see Ferrix really embrace that manifesto and become the first instance of a rebellion that's resisting the Empire.
I mean, I think this speech paired with that like hauntingly beautiful funeral dirge they played,
Yes.
like leading up to it, that starts off very mournful and reminiscent of typical funeral songs, but by the end it is such a rallying force as they march towards this wall of the Empire. It's just such a powerful moment. Like you said, this show could be called Speeches, and I don't think I'd enjoy it if it was just a speeches, because the moments that lead up to these speeches and that inspire them to say these things are so incredible when paired together with the final product. It's breathtaking.
It was even really emotional to hear the like marching band, if you want to call them that, get ready. Like just hearing them kind of clear their instruments, check their notes, and like make sure everything was good was getting me emotional. So to watch them walk and to see visual, physical reactions to what's about to happen, dependent on what character you're paying attention to, is so interesting. And I cannot talk about these performances enough. Like, cast wide, I don't think there's a weak link.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Even people who have like one line here or there are fantastic in the show. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. And I think That's what I was saying though. I'd want to be one of those instruments that you were talking about. They're blowing the spit out of me, before they start marching. Well, okay. Listen, why'd you take it there, Megan?
They're blowing the Star Wars jazz out of
There
you.
you go. The Star Wars. We'll just say jazz because I don't know how many times we can say that other word before we get demonetized or whatever. But again, just really quickly, the way that she compares the Empire to rust, the slow forming that slowly eats away at whatever it's covering, and by the time you decide to do anything about it, it's usually too late. Yeah. But then kind of seeing how she sort of looks at the Empire, but then also getting that flashback with Clem and seeing how he views the Empire, and you sort of see how those two things sort of culminate in Cassian. And it's interesting because we almost get a Cassian that is very much formed by his adopted father near the beginning of the series, and as we start to get towards the end of Cassian's life is where he starts to become more like Marva, and it's just really cool to see those two sort of ideals in his head, and how how it forms his character. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Andor for a reason. So
right,
it's,
not speeches.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
But not Cassian either.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
Hey.
It's their name. It's their last name, right?
We got it. All right. Well, let's keep going here. The crowd erupts into a riot, and I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go!" And the end of Marva's message, a situation which quickly escalates once Willman throws the explosive device that he was shown earlier in the episode building towards the troopers. It sets off an entire series of explosions, shrouding the streets in smoke. Cinta kills Corey. These are named. Corey's like, I don't know who that guy is. Anyway, Cinta kills him in a quiet alleyway in the midst of the chaos, and Cyril narrowly manages to save a frantic and terrified Dedra from the crowd. And I have to say something that made me a little sad, not with what happened to Dedra, but the odd romantic chemistry between Dedra and Cyril. I don't want them to be a thing. I don't want them to be a thing at all.
You know what's so funny? I have a note written down saying, who else wanted Cyril and Dedra to just start doing it?
No, I can't.
Well, that's I think that was a bit like, I don't know if that was tongue in cheek, like trying to hint at it.
I'm
But he's
obviously
a little-
glad they didn't.
Yeah.
No,
but
but I think what she's going to realize too is that she can use him, but she's going to use him, and he will die at some point. But I feel like in that moment, I was like, okay, they're going to be a big deal in season 2, not as a relationship.
No.
But as going after
He wants it
I don't
to be,
think
though.
so.
If anything,
He
it'll be a
wants it to
fake
be.
one.
Exactly.
She'll just use his
where
feelings.
she's
yeah.
using him. Exactly.
Oof.
That's what I think. Like, I think, again, if they go full romantic with it, I don't think that the show needs it. And I think you have to sell the idea that what Cyril is really attracted to is how professional is her sense of
And her
leadership.
power.
Yeah, and her dominance.
Oh.
There you go. At least you don't want to. Nate will be the bookend to that story. Let me tell you that.
Justin, come on, dude. I don't want to see more. Like, I was at a point in this episode where I'm like, I don't want sexual tension between space Nazis. Like, I don't want that
Yeah,
happening on
exactly.
screen. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
just couldn't
Yeah.
do
I mean,
it.
to be fair, it's not comfortable, like sexual tension.
No.
Cyril is mad stalker
Yeah.
vibes. Like his answer to is like, how? He's just like, you were in danger. It's just trying to play these cards to be like, I'm the good guy. I'm your hero type
Yeah.
thing. It's like, no.
Yeah, he's
you're
weird.
a creep who followed her to a random planet. This is, it's so uncomfortable.
His character throughout obviously has mommy issues.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of the reason why he's so attracted to Deirdre. I'm hoping that in season 2 with his character, they at least try to do something about his sense to strive for power. Very Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. Take that character on a journey to show, how he is trying to carve his own sense of power and dominance, and maybe even use Deirdre. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that there's something there that doesn't need to be romantic. If they go romantic, I think that'll throw everything off.
Say
They'll
one
cheapen
thing.
it.
Cheapen it, yes.
I do like Kyle Solar quite a bit. We did have a chance to interview both Kyle Solar and Denise Goff, who play Cyril and Dedra. I think maybe not so much for Dedra, but I think for Cyril, I still think he can be redeemed. I think so far, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's the only character that hasn't done something that we're like, that is abhorrent. That is terrible. Sure, his ideals right now align with the Empire, and he very much feels that way. But to your point, Justin, if he gets into a relationship, or he thinks he's in a relationship, rather, with Dedra, and then she does something, I could totally see him just flipping sides. Just being like, nothing I believed for so long is real. So now I'm on the rebellion side. I could totally see them pulling that with his character.
I go with Meg. I think that still cheapens it, though. Like, it still draws in like this cheesy soap opera romantic drama where it's like, you used me, so I'm gonna you over.
Oh, you Justin! I mean? Like, we're demonetized now. Thanks a lot.
I'll bleep it out. I'll bleep it out.
You gotta beep it.
It's like a little bit predictable if you do that as well.
I guess.
I think it would be, what would be interesting is that she thinks that he's using her.
Maybe he's smarter than she thinks.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like maybe she's like, oh, I'm using him and he's doing what I want. But at the same time, he's doing what he needs to do to advance. So he could be like, ha ha ha, treachery.
Still a soap opera.
But I could still
he has a mustache.
I could still see it being a moment where we're like, well, he's still a bad guy, but he's doing something that messes her plan up that still benefits Cassian.
Himself.
Like, I could still see,
and
himself, but still benefits Cassian in a way, as kind of like a,
a mole.
Like a mole.
We were talking about how, just Cyril and Dedra, but I mean, the whole Imperial side, just the way that they collapse under this immediate, like this rebellion.
Dude.
They're armed with
100%.
guns and riot shields, and they're still getting their butts trounced by a bunch of people with bricks.
Because they're scared.
And just whatever they have on hand. Like, it's crazy to, again, just they depict how powerless the Empire truly is once they're faced with opposition. It's so good.
Yeah, and it really does highlight what as Nate, you were mentioning, the sense of arrogance that the Empire has, and when they retaliate and save themselves, you can see them reacting in fear. So yeah, it's clear that the Empire doesn't got their shit together.
I would also just like to give a quick shout out to the clock drum tower guy for kicking a stormtrooper off the tower.
What's his name? The time displacer?
He's called the Time Grappler. Okay,
Grappler.
Which is freaking awesome. And the fact that he does a "this is Sparta" kick to this guy was amazing.
If literally in my living room.
I just want him to come back. Just have him come back and have him have a dialogue, or maybe he's mute. He doesn't talk at all, and he's like,
I think that would
he only talks through using his drums or whatever.
I mean, I just like to think about how out of breath that one stormtrooper is. Like, okay, oh god, I'm finally up here. Oh, what? Kicked off the side? Like, he just had to go up this massive spiral staircase only to get booted off. I feel bad for him.
Brutal. Okay, let's keep feeling bad for one of these characters here. Cassian finds Bix, and she is not herself. Dazed and scared, she initially doesn't want to leave with him because she's afraid that she says they will be angry, which is just like, to think where Bix comes from to that moment where she's just completely broken. Cassian manages to get her onto a ship with Brazo, Jez, Wilmon, and B2 Emo, but unfortunately, he's not coming with them. He has something else he needs to do. So I thought it was so sad when Bix was like, Marva was here. Like, she listened to the speech, she felt her presence in that moment, and she was so out of it. I want to know, how do you think this torture is going to affect Bix going forward?
I mean, at first, I was wondering if that maybe awoke some latent Force stuff in her, because the way she said she doesn't want to go, and then the bombs go off, and then she's willing to leave. I'm wondering if she could see, danger coming, and the fact that later on, I mean, in the scene when they're on the ship, she's like, Cassian will find us. I'm wondering if there's maybe something that the trauma unlocked, and maybe because she doesn't think the same way anymore, that she's using more of her brain or something. I don't know. I thought it was very odd the second watch that she didn't want to leave until after the bombs went off. I mean, if they were going out the front door there or trying to get on the street, they would have been affected by that blast for sure.
I took it as she was sort of in a trance. It's clear that they're using some sort of drug or narcotic. She was up. She's been tortured. Damn it again.
Another beep.
And I think with the explosion, it kind of woke her up, right? It made her realize, oh my God, but she was still weak. It's all sort of like wearing off. But yeah, I think that it's going to affect her 100%. to see where she came from and to see in that moment how much they broke her in that interrogation process. It'll be interesting to see what sort of trauma she'll carry after, and how that'll affect her decision making.
I mean, we're talking about how they may have broken her, but I think they only really broke her mind or stuff like that, because it seems like they're still looking for information. So despite all the torture that she's suffered and went through and stuff like that, she still managed to keep
she didn't give any
important
information
stuff close to her chest. So despite the fact that just goes to show how strong her character is, the fact that she's willing to put up with so much and still keep those cards close to the chest because she cares about the people involved. It's just brilliant performances. Again, we keep saying that, but this cast, 5 stars all around in terms of performances.
And if you want
100%.
to check out our interview with Adria Arjona, we did have a chance, Justin had a chance to talk to her, and she was in much better spirits than she was in this scene, for sure.
I should hope so.
For sure. Oh, before we do keep going, sorry, I just want to quickly shout out Cassian, very much giving deadbeat dad energy to B2 in this scene. Like B2's like, you always say that, and he's like yeah, but you always pull through, little buddy. And it's just like, dude, like just
Screw
Cassian,
you.
yeah, seriously, dude, take B2 with you. I don't care, find a way to bring this chunky little droid on these stealth missions. I don't know how it'll work. But yeah, no, that made me really sad. So let's keep going here. Luthen escapes from the clamor in town and makes his way back to his ship. But once he boards, he realizes he's not alone. Cassian is standing there waiting for him. Cassian accuses Luthen of coming to Ferrix to kill him, which he doesn't deny. So he says he's standing there now to make it easy for him. He can either kill him or take him in. Luthen stares down at the blaster in his hands for a moment before looking up at Cassian with a smile. And that was where the episode ends. So again, going back to what we discussed at the top of this episode, I asked you all, do you think Luthen really wanted to kill him? Do you think in this moment, he still wants to kill him, or do you think that he's changed his mind and has always had a bigger plan for Cassian than anyone's ever realized?
I think his decision at this end definitely stems from the fact of, like, you can tell how broken Cassian is. He's lost everything that's important to him. He brought the Empire to his home planet and left it in chaos multiple times now. So, I mean, Luthen seeing this is like, oh, this is a pawn I can still use. He's not going to be going against me anymore. That was the only thing going through my head, because, again, the series has painted Luthen out to be a very gray area guy. We're not sure if he's, the greatest of people. So I can totally see him just seeing a broken person and being like, yep, that's a tool.
Yeah.
That's a tool I can use easily.
And I totally agree with you, Darcy, because even in the instance with the conversation he has with Saw, he makes it quite clear that they will sacrifice whatever needs to be sacrificed for the greater good. And if he can witness and see a broken man in front of him that he can now utilize as his own tool, he respects Andor. I think he acknowledges that Andor is talented. And yeah, why not? Why not use him for the greater good? He's
probably happy that he doesn't have to kill him anymore. He's like, oh, he's this broken. He's still going to be of use to me. This is all coming up my way.
Jeez.
Yeah, because now he knows that, like, Cassian has nothing left to lose, so he'll be willing to do anything for the cause.
That's so much darker than I wanted it to be. I
know, right?
I wanted it to be like the idea that Luthen's like, no, now he's truly passed the test, and now he's part of the rebellion, and we can be good friends now. But no, I think you're all absolutely, unfortunately, correct. That yes, it's just he's got another. What was that guy we were talking about earlier? Lino or Lonnie? He's got another Lonnie in front of him. I got to it eventually, Justin. Don't look at me like that. So he's got another Lonnie in front of him. So he's happy about that, which is super dark. We get a post-credit scene for the first time. It only took until the final episode to get one. I think all Marvel and Star Wars have a lot of good crossover. So there's a lot of fans who are always just like, there's got to be an after-credit scene. So during the post-credit scene, we see an army of droids carrying and installing the large components that Cassian and the other prisoners were assembling in the prison on Narkina 5. And as the shot pans out, we see that they were contributing to the construction of the Death Star. Bum, bum, bum.
But not just the Death Star.
The key components to the structural integrity of the panels that comprise the planet-killing super laser, which is absolutely insane just to think that, like, just that's, again, when you think the Empire can't go darker, they find a way to go darker. I want to ask, how gratifying was it that, you know, it was totally fan service to just sort of give us, like, you all assumed correctly, you're all right. But what do you think of this look at the Death Star in this moment?
So I was one of those people who didn't assume there was going to be an end credit scene. Don't know why. Just like went about my day. I let the credits roll and listened to the music, and then all of a sudden I heard that like drilling or the oh my god, welding. Thank you. And was like, wait, what's going on? And I walked out into my living room and watched that unfold, and was like chills from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, and the like cinematic picture at the end, the way they rotated the Death Star and the parts. Oh my God. Like, I want that as my desktop background. Like, it was so beautiful and like haunting.
I know Kevin was really stoked because, I mean, in a previous watch club, he was like, it's got to be the Death Star. So he was so excited to see that pay off and was just like, yes, I was right about one thing. He loves when that happens. But yeah, like you were saying, Meg, that one shot was so like picturesque, the blown up view and everything like that. Just, so good. Such a rewarding payoff to, you know, get that answer that we weren't really sure if they were even going to address it. But so well done.
Yeah, I knew that they had to address it because that whole side mission that Andor goes on in prison, it was important for a multitude of reasons other than just him spending X amount of time there and getting out, right? And all of that had to be done around the components. And it makes sense why the Empire is just keeping them. And it makes sense why they're just rotating them. They're not getting out. They're just going to continue to do this. It's manual labor, and they don't fall in line, they're going to die, right? So all for the greater good, right? With air quotes around it. So it's really crazy that even throughout this conversation, that's kind of the aspect that everyone's looking at their own cause as, for the greater good. The rebellion looks at it as the greater good. The Empire looks at it as the greater good. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of what binds these two together.
The greater good. That brings us to our prediction segment for what we think will be revealed in the future of this series and its characters going into, I guess in this case, the second season. So folks, now that the season is over, do you have any big ideas on what could happen next? And again, for this series prediction segment, we call it This Many Bothans Died to bring us this information. So you'll start off by telling me how many Bothans died to bring you this information. Meg, why don't you kick us off?
I'm going to start off by saying a single Bothan died for this information because I don't have a lot to say.
Yeah.
I am really just intrigued to see where they go. I would obviously love a little less politics, but I know that's just not going to happen with Star Wars. I think I'm interested to see how Cassian ended up with the droid he's in Rogue One. I wonder if we'll get that storyline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. I hope that happens sooner rather than later in that season.
Yeah, they apparently that is in a comic book already, so they could adapt and pull from it. They did that, you know, with Mando. They showed us some Black Chrysanthemum and sort of followed along there. And I know they're probably not going to want to break the canon necessarily, but they could literally just pull from the pages of that comic book to give us those moments. It'll be interesting to see how they do that, because I definitely think we need K2SO in this show, even 100%. Just for a little bit if we get a chance.
I think it's going to be pretty obvious to see him pop up, because I feel like in my prediction segment, I feel like 3 Bothans die to bring us this, but I feel like he's definitely going to be taking his knowledge of this prison and what he was building there to Luthen and being like, we need to figure out what they're building. Why was so many resources being devoted to this thing? And that clearly leads him on the route that would take us into Rogue One, which season 2, following the 4 years leading into that, will give us a lot of, you know, breaking and entering, you know, Cassian being Cassian, getting in and out of these Imperial bases to bring the information to the rebellion and kind of piece together what the Death Star is. Because again, I feel like that's what the focus of the next season would be, is them discovering what this giant threat out in the galaxy is.
Yes, I will say 3 Bothans died to give me this information. 100%. I agree with Darcy. I think that the intent of what we saw with that whole side mission was far more important to set up for what we're going to see in season 2, and that is the unraveling of this great weapon. And I don't think the information is just going to come from Cassian. I think it's going to come from all parties that are that we've already seen throughout the rest of the series. I think ISB is going to play a huge part in unraveling this mystery. Maybe they're in the dark about it. Maybe they don't know about it yet. Do you know what I mean? And
a lot of them are, because half of Thrawn's story is figuring out what all these resources are going towards while he's trying to pitch his own little TIE Defender program.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, if we see Thrawn, we'll definitely get, again, that kind of unraveling from his side, which
I
is
think
wicked.
I think it would still be great to introduce Thrawn in season 2. They've definitely laid the groundwork, as Meg said, that this series is very political. It's very driven in that aspect, and I think that Thrawn is kind of the one that marries both of that. He is that fantasy side of what we love about Star Wars, but he also has a rich background in politics, and I think that this is a great way to kind of introduce who he is in the live action, even if it's just for a little bit, and then kind of carry it off. So who knows? But I 100% agree that the next season is very much going to be them unraveling the mystery, because where we find Cassian at the beginning of Rogue One, he's getting confirmation that what they think is going on. Literally the next scene in Rogue One, after he has that moment with the dude that's the informant, they're interrogating Jyn Erso about her father and stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe we're gonna see Mad Mikkelsen come up and
Galen Erso?
Yeah, that would be great.
Whoa.
Well, listen, let me, before you take all my predictions, everyone, let me just say that, we're at the end of the season here. I don't know if I'm going to reuse this prediction segment for the next season, so I'm just going to say every Bothan died to bring me this information, mostly because I want to see these things actually happen, and I think that their sacrifice is necessary. It's for the greater good.
For the greater good.
Got me sounding like Luthen Rail out here. I really think we're going to see Mon Mothma and her family struggle to the point where she has to abandon them. I think we're going to see a lot more of these additional characters dying off as well. Whether it be for the greater good or not is going to be interesting to see how many of them start to sort of recognize that, what they consider the greater good to actually be. I think that's going to be a really sort of it came up so many times in this season. I think as we do these time jumps going forward, we're going to start to see the degradation of what they think that means, and see how that changes. And I think that change in mindset will ultimately be Luthen's undoing. I think Luthen will absolutely die before the season is out. I do think Cassian's sister is going to play a bigger role in this series. I know Marvel was like, yo, don't even expect your sister to be alive, okay, bro? She's totally dead. But I think she absolutely is alive. That's why this whole thing kicked off. And I think it would be awesome if not only is she alive, but she's involved with the Empire. I think would be really, really intriguing just to see that sort of juxtaposition. She believes some things that they're doing are right. Maybe she's fighting for a certain aspect of it. Who knows? Who knows what goes on? I do think we're going to get a couple of characters from... I think we're going to get a couple of characters from Rogue One in this show. Please, Justin, don't steal this prediction. And I do believe Mads Mikkelsen... as well as Ben Mendelsohn. I think Galen Erso, right, and Orson Krennic. I think both of them would work so well within the structure of the show.
Oh, yes.
You've got Galen having direct contact with Luthen, right, as a spy on the inside, and then you have Krennic as a new obstacle for Dedra Meero. Would be awesome. Would be so cool.
Wow.
Hopefully they're not too busy with all the other stuff that I know, I think Marvel might have Ben Mendelsohn tied up in a couple things here and there, but lastly, my biggest prediction, I'm going to put it out into the universe. We will see, whether directly or slightly off screen, Admiral Thrawn at the end of this show as a way to tease his involvement in the upcoming live action series. I know that those shows take place much farther away than this one, but I think this episode has proven to us that they're not above giving us a hype stinger at the end. And I think that's exactly where you place a Thrawn. You put the back of his neck or whatever you want to do, looking out into space as the hype stinger after the credits to say Thrawn will return.
I mean, technically it'd have to be the hype stinger after the credits of like the halfway point, because by the time of 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, that's when he gets teleported off into hyperspace with
that's why I think he could show
Ezra
up.
And the gang. So we'd see him early if we see him at all.
And that's why I think his introduction could happen like within like, the episodes, 4 to 6, or even, 7 to 9. Right? Like you could have him sort of involved towards the tail end of all of this. But like Darcy was saying, like he wants to unravel what they're working on as well. So who knows if we come into contact with him as one of the characters that's trying to figure out what the Empire's working on.
Well, and I know the timeline is totally different, but he was already mentioned in The Mandalorian.
Because they were looking for him.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
He's still alive,
alive.
but we just don't
And
know
so
where
is
he is.
Ezra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
He's in deep space with those
But
whales and Ezra.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think he'll show up in Andor season 2 before he shows up in Ahsoka?
It'd be an interesting way to introduce the character and
Yeah.
where he came from, because his whole analytical mind is what makes him so strong. So to see him, figure out how the Death Star is being built from, again, in the books, he gets very little information. He just notices, oh, they're mining a lot of this resource, and then puts 2 and 2 together. Oh, he can only be making a great weapon. Oh, with all this stuff. And it's how he puts the stuff together is so incredible. It'd be really cool to get an insight into that before we see him wherever he is outside of the Empire.
You know what?
Yeah.
Just give me like one moment where
like one scene.
Deirdre has to go to his like office or something like that.
You
And
just see his legs.
He's interrogating
He's wearing
her.
like shorts, and you just
Oh
see
no, but like he's
Or
interrogating.
or he gives her the one piece of
angle.
information she was missing.
Exactly. There you go. He provides her with information. Like that's all we would really need. Like maybe we're overcomplicating it by saying he's in 3 episodes. Maybe it's like 1 or 2 minutes just to establish the fact that he exists in this timeline and he is a player, because there's so much in and around this that feels like it could relate back to Thrawn, and it's like just something.
Just do it.
Right?
It's just like
that's me
a
being
back
greedy
silhouette.
as a fan. Yeah.
A back silhouette, and she's walked into his office to ask a question, and you just get like that side head turn and his like low, horrible.
That sounds
weird
like the
voice.
introduction of
Or
Thanos.
the
and
glowing red eyes
Yeah.
and like coming out of the shadow type thing.
Yeah.
And he's played by Lars Mikkelsen. I'm just saying.
he will be. He will
would be amazing. Let's go. Anyways, we are starting to get off the Luthen rails here. So let's get to our final thoughts and score. We're going to give our overall impressions of all 3 episodes, which we're going to be rating on a scale of 1 to 5 funeral bricks. And then at the end, I would love your score for the entire season on a scale of 1 to 5 of B2 Emo's Little Tears. So, Megan, why don't you kick us off?
For these 3 episodes, there was a lot of moments. Like I said, I'm not super into the politics part of Star Wars. There were a lot of moments where I sort of zoned out. A lot of like, chats where I've heard this story already. I've heard this part of it. I didn't connect with Mon Mothma as much as I thought I would in this show. I think I was really excited to see her because I'm such a huge animated series and Rebels fan, but it just didn't click for me. However, the like slow build of this show was finalized in these 3 episodes really, really well. So I personally will be giving this a 3.5 out of 5 funeral bricks just because of my own personal likes and distastes. And I think I've realized espionage is not my favorite genre of film and television. Politics, not my favorite thing. However, the performances are absolutely untouchable. The shots and the cinematography is so beautiful. And this show, out of every single, I'll say any Disney Plus show that has aired in the last 2 years, this has the best writing I've ever seen in a Disney Plus show. Star Wars, Marvel, all of it. And I also think that it was a great prequel to, in my opinion, one of the best Star Wars movies. So
Better than Solo.
I'm going to give, I'm going to give the entire series a 4.5 out of 5 B2 emo tears.
Oh.
I want none of those tears, but
Listen. I'm dark like the Empire. I'm going to make you think about him crying. Justin, your overall thoughts and final scores.
Yeah, I think for these last three episodes, yeah, there was a lot going on. Meg's not wrong about that. I think there was a lot to kind of follow, but as she mentioned, it's part of this espionage genre. It's the politics. It's understanding what's going on in the background. And while it wasn't necessarily like I didn't understand it all, what I was understanding what was happening in front of me with the character dynamics. Again, as we've called out, the speeches, the endless amount of speeches in these last three episodes were so powerful, and they really do show you the different characters and their motives and intentions. Incredibly written for the last three episodes. But yeah, there might have been a little bit more fluff. So what I would say is for these three episodes, I'd give it 4 out of 5 funeral bricks. But for the overall season, this is flawless Star Wars. This is Star Wars that is freed from the shackles of the box of the Star Wars genre. It's less fantasy. It is more real. It's more personal. It's incredibly emotive. I love the idea that we're focusing more on the people, what drove the rebellion forward, and not necessarily just the Jedi and the Sith. It's this idea of people in the galaxy that are trying to live, and this show has masterfully, like from start to finish, just made me care for every single person. And it 100% comes down to fantastic writing, really thorough writing, and incredible performances from an outstanding cast. Everyone knew their roles and knew what they needed to do and knew how to act without having to necessarily output it through lines. It was the emotion, it was the belief that they were fighting for a cause. So it's like perfect, flawless Star Wars in my opinion. This series is a solid 5 out of 5 emo tears. B2 emo tears.
B2 emo
yeah,
tears.
Emo tears, whatever. B2 emo
Yeah.
tears. It is it is what I want for the future of Star Wars. It is the best realization of what Star Wars could be if you start to think of it outside of what everyone thinks is conventional Star Wars. And I think, yeah, Meg, you said it. Rogue One is probably one of the better movies of the Star Wars franchise that have been released, but I don't think it was as appreciated as it is now, especially with
Absolutely.
this prequel series. With this series, I liked Rogue One, don't get me wrong, but when it came out in the pool of Star Wars canon, it didn't fit. It almost felt reactionary too early. What if this series started things off? What if this series gave us a little bit more to digest about Star Wars taking a new direction? There's a lot of questions in that because you're spending more time with the series. Maybe you can get hooked to that a little bit more and start to do it. But we've come a long way with Star Wars that this feels refreshing. So that's 100%, 5 out of 5.
Darcy, how about yourself?
I mean, I it's funny that you guys were saying that there were parts that we were kind of confusing and taking you out of it, because I watch this series with my mom, usually on a second watch with her, because we are lucky enough to get it a bit early in some cases, but she loves the series so much because, yes, it's a lot to pay attention to and to digest, but once you get to this final 3 episode arc, so many things are paying off and you're understanding so many reasons why these characters are doing what they're doing that she loves it. She calls it her favorite Star Wars series, of the live action stuff so far, even liking it more than the sequel trilogy, which a lot of people probably agree with. And the fact that she's able to understand everything going on just shows how good the writing is, that everything you need to know is there and is told in a way that is easy to understand if you take the time to kind of look a bit further into it. And it's so rewarding. Again, these 3 episodes tie off so many things and give us so many different aspects of Star Wars that we know and love, from the grand spectacle to these crazy plots and to these just awesome starfights. There are so many moments from these 3 episodes that are stand out and are just classic Star Wars to me, and I loved it. So yeah, definitely a strong 5 out of 5 funeral bricks for these final 3 episodes, because they do such a good job of rewarding the slow burn that the show was. And the show as a whole, I think, is what we want Star Wars to be going forward, just having more depth than just a guy with a lightsaber fighting, a great evil or whatever. This is true storytelling down to the people and the characters and performances. So overall, I am blown away by this, and I can't wait for more Star Wars in this vein. So another strong 5 out of 5 B2 emo tears for me.
Yeah, you all said it. These 3 episodes were fantastic. Again, it just bookending, poetry, all the words, all the speeches, just speeches on speeches with these last 3 episodes. So yeah, 5 out of 5 funeral bricks. This series, it kind of took a while to get to a place where I was freaking out. Like, I think at first I was a little wary of its structure. The fact that some of the episodes, especially the first 2, felt like they kind of just ended at random times. And I wasn't, at that moment, I remember even calling Justin, because we got them, like, it felt like a year ago by now, but it was like early August or whatever. It was when the show was supposed to happen, and then it got delayed, right? Yeah. And I remember, talking to you about this, and like, I don't know how I feel about the pacing, but then as soon as episode 3 ended, it clicked for me that this show was going to be special and that it was going to play out in 3-episode arcs. And honestly, watching them 3 episodes at a time is the right way to do it. I think if I was to ever rewatch this season, that's how I would want to sort of consume it, is in 3-episode chunks. The cast. Diego Luna picked up Cassian perfectly. Stellar Skarsgård was phenomenal. Adria Arjona just gave so much, especially in those final moments. Denise Goff was a character that I kept going back and forth on, and that has so much to do with her ability to play this character that at times you kind of do want to root for. I know early on I was like, yeah, get it. You do you. Like, you don't have to just be a person in the background, but then you realize how evil she is, and then you're just like, oh no, yeah, trample her, stomp on her head. And then Genevieve O'Reilly, again, as we've been saying, just a scene stealer, the way she emotes. And then Andy Serkis is an incredible surprise that I don't think any of us even could have possibly anticipated. We're like, oh, Andy Serkis is here, it's amazing. But something we didn't quite talk about with these last 3 episodes, Nicholas Britell. God bless Nicholas Britell. The music in this show is so
Blade Runner,
so good, so Blade Runner, but it fits the narrative so well in the way that even the composition over time. Like, I can't wait to listen to the actual score, because you can literally hear it building and building in these 3-act structures. And we especially in episode 6, the heist score, it rivals Giacchino's Rogue One score for me, which is probably one of my favorite scores of Star Wars, which is crazy considering the fact that the other scores are done by John frickin' Williams. So it's just incredible that the music from all these composers, everyone talks about Ludwig. I think it's awesome. The music in Star Wars, I don't think anyone can complain about the music in Star Wars. Just saying.
Oh, God.
The way the show was able to give so much more context to the effects the Empire can have on the culture, and the depths that they took with how dark they got. Like, the way they could take this universe that we know and add so many layers while flipping it on its head was perfect. And I was shocked with how mature this story was. And I'm so happy that this show proves that we can get stories like this set in a galaxy far, far away. Like, we can get stories. Yes, we got Star Wars stuff for kids. That's not going away. We're going to continue to get more of that. We're getting an animated droid series. That's going to keep happening. We're going to get little Grogu scenes in the future. But the fact that we can still, Megan's freaking out, the fact that we can still get this mature look at Star Wars and this dark look at Star Wars that rivals something like a Game of Thrones is awesome. And it's what I've been wanting, and what a lot of Star Wars fans have been wanting for a really long time. Lastly, I know some people like to think that the animated content or these Disney Plus live action shows can be skipped. And while I completely disagree with those thoughts, this is must-see Star Wars. And it's some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten. I'm excited for season 2. And I can't wait to see how they handle the time jumps. I'm giving this 4th and final act of this season 5 out of 5 B2 Emo's Little Tears. All right, well, that is it for this week's episode of Watch Club for Andor, the finale. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoyed this entire Watch Club. If you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or predictions on the shows we cover in Watch Club, well, let me just say, fight the Empire to Justin to encourage him to tell you how you can reach us.
You could have just thrown me a brick, dude.
Oh,
Jeez,
sorry. Yeah, okay. I'll toss you a
shut.
funeral brick.
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. And they can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
And if you enjoyed this Watch Club, guess what, everyone? Guess what? You have been listening to the 4 voices on this episode that are going to be bringing you your next Watch Club. That's right. The batches are back in town, coming soon in January, which is crazy to think of how close we are for season 2 of The Bad Batch. And we are going to be bringing you weekly Watch Club breakdowns for the episodes that are great, for the episodes that are not so great, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And I just
They're all great, okay?
I cannot wait to read our TK numbers yet again on this podcast. I loved season 1 so much, and getting to talk about it with you folks in particular was awesome. So we're going to be doing that again come January. But for now, keep in mind we have a ton of other episodes covering the latest and greatest movies and shows out now, like our recent spoiler-free review for Willow, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Story, Strange World, Slumberland, and Tales of the Jedi. And we have a ton of interviews, like the interviews that I mentioned earlier with some of the cast of this show, and our most recent interview with the director and cast of Willow, which is another Lucasfilm project that we all really enjoyed. So subscribe both on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric and on your podcast service of choice. Give those episodes a watch, a listen, a like, ring the bell like a time grappler, and leave a 5-star review if you don't mind. Justin, Darcy, Megan, thank you so much for joining me for this final Watch Club for Andor. And as we say, until next season,
Rebellions are built on hope.